Wildcard is making some wild changes. In a recent town hall, Paul Bettner and the team shared a bunch of alpha. I'm Caveman. I'm going to be sharing the top 5 leaks, starting with number 1, the new arena.
You're going to see a mock-up for a new arena, which is called the Arden Arena.
Yeah, of Love Above, the arena on Arden, which is super cool. I love a ton of things about it. It really feels like open air and under the sky, and I can't wait to see where it ends up.
An open and green space, somewhere where we can go out and touch some grass. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, it looks quite nice. It seems a little empty at this point, but obviously it's pre-alpha. They're going to fill it out, and it's going to look beautiful. It seems a lot bigger, and I'm curious what's underneath. I wonder if there's a whole bunch of different, mechanics that might be into play. All these arenas could be very special. But one thing I really want to point out is something that Dan said right at the beginning of the video segment I just showed, where he's actually showcasing the arena. He said, in Love Above Arden Arena, I think there's a Freudian slip showing that each house will have its own home field. So this was the Love Above Arena, and now I can't wait to see Kronos. Team Locks in the house. Let's go! Moving on to number 2, a new game mode, the goalies.
You're going to see a brand new representation of the goal area in the game, as represented by more in a sports context, with an actual goalie that is doing damage and doing damage to attacking creatures on the goal, defending the goal, and providing more strategy and depth for players to be able to choose what that goalie is and how that goalie behaves.
This game mode that we've settled on revolves around a few things, and you will notice one of the biggest things, and one of the main things that changed here. We now have goalies. So goalies are uber buff. It looks like Slow Claw. It'll actually look like something else later. A unique goalie card, perhaps. So they're super buff, and they are not taking any guff from you whatsoever. So they will chase you if you get close. They will bust up summons as they get close. You notice that they have actually quite a few hit points. So the goal of this mode plays just like normal Wildcard, except you got to KO the goalie.
So they added goalies. This is quite interesting because it adds a whole new strategic element. If you listen to what Dan and Paul said, it could be unique summons or goalie cards. And this could represent various units. Maybe you have that big meat shield Slow Claw that's that last line of defense, whacking people that try to go to your base. Or maybe you do more of like a macro kind of game where it's an assembler, just popping out passive units the whole game. Maybe it's really easy to destroy and then they can get to your goal easy, but it could just make this overwhelming pushing force. I think it raises that whole element of deck building and the strategy meta game a lot. And so I'm really excited to see what that looks like. But that's not all with this new game mode.
Break this shield, get this little goal here. So we don't know exactly the final form of it, but like touch, lift up the orb, slam it down. There's some scoring moment that happens here.
So you saw it there. Dan was mentioning how to actually score the goal and win the round, it's going to be a little bit different. Maybe you have to like slam the ball down or do something else with the orb. I think this opens up a whole bunch of possibilities. One that I'm thinking of is you as a champion will actually have to go grab the orb and bring it back to your goal, or maybe to like some central location, or just some way that you have to like slam it down. What it means is that your champion has to actually be there. You can't just send your summons in, break down that core like before and score the goal. You actually need to go there in person, grab that orb and do something. I think that's really cool. It also gives one more opportunity for that losing player to have a swing back. If they can kill off you, then have a final push into your area and come back. I think that, any game that you can have a good swing, that really makes it fun. Moving on to number 3, and what I'm most excited for, combat mechanics.
And the other big thing you're going to see here, the other thing that we've been pushing on a lot, is the combat, and especially the way the champion feels as they move around the arena and as they fight creatures or fight the other champion. It's okay, but it's not really at the level of like our favorite fighting games, whether we're talking about, a fighting game like Street Fighter or Smash Brothers, or 3D fighting games. Like Dan and I like to point back to this old game called Power Stone that we loved, that was like a 3D version of Smash Brothers back in the day. But there's these features in those games that make them feel just so good to just run around and beat things up with your main character. And we wanted to take our champion, the champion's core abilities and their special abilities, to that level of feeling like our favorite fighting games, with just really good control and response.
Now Bulgar is really shaping up his specific kit is shaping into be more of a brawler, kind of a heavy hitter sort of character. We had a good framework of brand new abilities that the teams worked hard on. Bulgar now has a combo 1, 2, 3, and he will knock things away on that third punch. You'll see that he's stepping forward as part of his combo, helps you connect, and he will auto magnet to things in his range. Those were two of the most hotly requested and I think most vital changes needed to make a functioning combat system.
So they added combos. This is huge. I really find this is going to spice up that PvP game when you're going 1v1 trying to box them or hit them with your auto attacks. It's going to feel really good. Before this, it didn't really feel like your auto attacks connected. So having that magnet and just that 3-hit combo with like a knock or any other special abilities, it's going to make it really, really engaging. And I can't wait to see how Locke's kit is set up. And it wasn't just combos they changed. Check out the rest of Bulgar's kit here.
You will auto regenerate health if you haven't taken damage in a long time. So think of it like a Halo overshield. Keeps health management from being a thing. Also, Bulgar now has, if you jump and you're in the air, he has a drop kick that does a ton of damage. His drop kick hits hard, but he does have a recovery. So you get punished if you use that stupidly or try to abuse it. People think things can keep hitting you while you're on the ground. He has the Logzuka, hold down left trigger. Aim it and release left trigger, and he blasts he uses his log, and it'll eventually, I think, shoot out Acorn T Stuffin' Cheeks to do some damage to everybody and knock them around, which is fun. He has a dash. The dash is missing a little bit of functionality that we're going to add to it, which is if he hits an opposing creature or champion, it'll punt them away. He has burr on the Y button, so back to face, easy to use burr. We want to add a +1 to burr, where if you press Y, while he's out, so no dead inputs, right? So if he's out on the battlefield and you press Y again, we want him to do a frenzy bite or something and then come back to you early.
Well, they hooked Bulgar's kit up. He's got a whole bunch of abilities now. He can drop kick foes. He's got a Logzuka. This is really cool combination of ranged, close range, just really making Bulgar a fun unit to play. I really can't wait to see how they incorporate this in the MOBA overall. And of course, I got to see Locke. I got to see my boy. They also said that the ultimates will be ramped up sufficiently too, so I can't wait to see how this all comes together. Now, moving on to number 4, wild file IDs.
How we can create value for our wildcard community and especially our wild pass holders now, before the game is even out. As we go forward, we can recognize those users who were there with us early, who contributed to helping us build wildcard. Okay, so to do that, we have built a protocol called the Wild File. This is going to be exclusively available to Wild Pass holders first, and then it'll be available to the public. What's interesting about, in my opinion, making it available to Wild Pass holders first is that you guys actually get to record the very first activity on the Wild File. So before anyone else is able to even attend their first event or even mint that initial identity, you guys get to come first. So it's like those people who brag that they have some early Twitter ID or that they have an early Discord ID. It's kind of like that. Several pieces of swag, including this insanely rare Board Elon swag pin that we're all super jealous of. And he's participated in some activity. He minted his Wildfile. He linked it to his different accounts. And you can see that here.
Paul introduced us to the Wildfile protocol. This is quite cool because it's the first tangible benefit for Genesis Pass holders. Now, other than playing in the playtest, if you haven't done that yet, pause this video, go sign up for a slot, and get in this game. It is so much fun, and especially with the new game mode coming out in a couple weeks, not months, as Paul said, you definitely want to start testing this out and seeing how the game plays. Now, back to the Wildfile ID. What makes it cool is it's kind of like an ENS domain where you get to claim your name or Discord ID, so you could get Caveman1. Don't even think about touching my name. But no, it's going to be really cool. You can do that. They did decide to make it soulbound, which I'm not entirely happy. I do like the idea of being able to buy and sell those. People really value that, and that is something to value if you like that. So either way, they decided to do that. And the other thing that the Wildfile does is it really showcases your involvement in the community and being engaged in activities and stuff. And so it's just a really cool way to show who is a big supporter of the Wildcard family. And that leads to us to number 5, the community leaderboard.
As people begin to mint these and as people begin to attend events and connect their collectibles, such as the Wild Pass and swag, to their wild file, that gives us all of the on-chain information and data needed to begin to build things like robust leaderboards.
So let me explain why these leaderboards are so interesting. When you're trying to develop a community, it can be really hard to keep them engaged. Attending AMAs, events, and in gaming particularly, providing feedback and bug reports. With these leaderboards, you can incentivize all of that with really cool ways, especially in crypto with NFTs. You could give private talks with developers, and maybe even being able to design future summons or champions. There's a whole bunch of ways you can reward. And since it is all being recorded on blockchain and they have thought about ways to reduce botting, it should be a good representation of who is being active in your community, which is really cool and should, keep promoting active engagement and really have a strong community. Now, I'm going to leave you guys with one last thing that Paul was saying about his vision and what he thinks about the MOBAs. I'll see you guys next time.
Really, the focus here is both adjustments to the game mode to make it more fun, more dynamic, more dramatic. That's the word we keep using, is like the drama of live sports. We've always said Wildcard is a MOBA for people who don't necessarily love MOBAs.